Almost starring Skinnybones, the sequel to Skinnybones, written by Barbara Park, the author of Junie B. Jones. Read by Miss May. Chapter 1. Mother Nature makes mistakes. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. One of them sits behind me in English class. Her name is Annabelle Posey. I'd rather think that Annabelle was a mistake than believe Mother Nature made her on purpose. Ooh, that's mean. Annabelle is probably the most stuck-up girl in the entire universe. Her father has his own local TV show. It's called The Uncle Happy Show. It's one of those little kiddie programs. Mr. Posey is Uncle Happy. He wears a cowboy hat, a red rubber nose, and a cape. It's the type of costume you dig up on Halloween when you're too old for trick-or-treat, but you still want the candy. Mostly, all he does is show cartoons. Once in a while, he has a guest appearance by this policeman called Uncle Officer. Uncle Officer talks about junk like bike safety, how you shouldn't yell out dirty stuff to cars when they honk at you, or else the driver might come back and kill you. Oh, jeez. To put it nicely, it's not that kind of show that cleans up at the Emmy Award. But it doesn't matter to Annabelle. Even though no one in Hollywood has ever heard of the Uncle Happy Show, she still brags about all the famous people she knows. Like one time, in second grade, Annabelle actually stood up and told the class that God had come to her house for Sunday supper. Oh, I'm not kidding. God. The teacher practically called her a liar, but Annabelle wouldn't change her story. She said that he had wings and a golden crown, and he flew into her window and ate a chicken dinner. Besides being a natural-born liar, Annabelle is also very good at making fun of people. Not everyone exactly, mostly just me. Like when she's asked to list her hobbies, Annabelle probably puts reading, swimming, making fun of Alex Skinnybones Frankovich, Skinnybones. That's what she usually calls me, her and about a million other kids at school. A skinny little bag of bones. Nice, huh? I guess that's why I've got such a big mouth. Just because I'm small doesn't mean I'm going to let jerks like Annabelle get the best of me. I get them before they get me. It sounds sort of dramatic, like a gunfight or something, but that's how it is. This may seem crazy, but sometimes I think having people like Annabelle Posey around can actually be good for you. They give you a reason to keep trying to make something special out of yourself, to set goals and stuff. Then, when you finally make it, you can go right up to them in a real crowded room like the cafeteria and laugh in their ugly faces. My goal is to wipe out an entire lunch line with one giant ha! Oh, Alex, he's a bit dramatic. That's what was so great about my summer. I finally got my chance to make it big, real big, and I owe it all to Kitty Fritter's Cat Food Company. Last year, they sponsored a contest called the National Kitty Fritter Television Contest. You had to write an essay telling them why your cat ate kitty fritters. The winner got to go to New York over the summer and make a TV commercial. I only entered as a joke. My essay was about how the fritters were real cheap and how they tasted like rubber, but who cared because cats aren't people anyways. It was pretty insulting if you want to know the truth. That's why I was so surprised when I won. I guess the contest judge must have had a good sense of humor. In the letter the company sent, they said it was the most honest essay they had ever received. Boy, did my father pick up on that one. For 2 solid weeks, he walked around saying how it should prove to me that honesty is the best policy. He said it so much, I made the mistake of believing him. The last week of school, I even decided to be honest with our substitute teacher. I went up to his desk and told him that some of us felt like his feet were stinking up the room. They were, too. After he came in from playground duty, 2 kids in the front row keeled right over on the floor. Oh my goodness, they just fell over on the floor. He sent me to the office. I had to write a letter of apology. Anyway, when I told Annabelle that I had won the contest and was going to make a national television commercial, she practically went crazy. She just couldn't stand the thought of someone else in town being a celebrity like her father. Big deal, she said, pretending to yawn in my face. My father's made 1,000,000 TV commercials. I shook my head. No, Annabelle. You don't seem to understand. This isn't a local TV commercial like your father does. This is a national company, like with a major pet food company. And it's not the same thing as honking your nose, jumping off a chair, and shouting, "Watch the Uncle Happy Show." Annabelle stuck her snooty nose in the air. So what? We're rich, aren't we? And besides, my father says that being a clown brings joy and laughter into the world. A clown? I asked, astonished. You're kidding. Is that what he's supposed to be? He's a clown? Annabelle looked annoyed. Of course he's a clown, stupid. Then she paused a second and eyed me with suspicion. Why? What else could he be? I shrugged. I don't know. I always thought he was just a lousy dresser. Annabelle punched me in the stomach, hard. I wasn't expecting it, and I let out a loud oomph. Then I doubled over into a little ball and fell over onto the basketball court. Walter Bingham strolled over and dribbled on my head. When you're a skinny bag of bones, humiliating stuff like this happens all the time. It sounds funny, but when you're being dribbled on, you don't feel that much like laughing. Hardly at all, in fact. Anyway, I was hoping a lot of that would change after I got to be a star. Being famous could really turn my life around. I dreamed about it all the time, like about how I would get a fan club, and they would scream and faint and follow me around, and how I would make a personal appearance on the Uncle Happy Show. And Uncle Officer would salute me, and how God might drop by for a meatball sandwich. Oh, jeez. One thing was for certain. If I was ever going to become a big television star, I had to stop thinking of myself as Skinnybones and start concentrating on being a celebrity. I began by signing autographs. Just to get the feel of it, I stood outside the market and wrote my name on people's grocery bags as they got into their cars. You wouldn't believe how excited some people got over a simple little autograph. One lady rolled her window up on my pen. Another guy started swatting me with his hat. Oh man, doesn't sound like they're very excited to me. I just don't get it. Celebrity autographs are valuable. I've got a pretty good collection of my own. I keep them hidden in the bottom of my dresser drawer. I used to have them on my bulletin board, but every time my cousin Leon came over, he'd put his little grubby paws all over them, so now they're tucked away under my pajamas. Mostly they're autographs of famous baseball and basketball players. Also, there's one of Bugs Bunny. I was only 3 when I got it, so I didn't understand it was just some man dressed up in a rabbit suit. Personally, I think it's the job of parents to keep small children from embarrassing themselves like I did. The guy actually signed my paper, Bugs. Anyway, just because I signed some autographs didn't mean I thought I was famous as Tom Cruise or anything. You don't get to be as famous as Tom Cruise by doing one little TV commercial. Cap'n Crunch or Mrs. Butterworth, it's about the best you can expect. Still, they're celebrities, aren't they? The thought of me being a star really drove my mother crazy. I guess she figured it would make me stuck up or something. Every time I talked about it, I got this giant lecture on how I wasn't a celebrity at all. How I was still plain old Alex Frankovich. I know I'm still plain old Alex Frankovich, I snapped back one morning at breakfast. But what's that got to do with anything? I can still be a star, can't I? I don't have to be a giant star, like with a big mansion in Hollywood. I can just live here and be a little star, with a little sports car and a little English butler. My mom grunted and picked up the sports page. What do you say, Mom? I persisted. A little sports car and a little butler? That's reasonable, isn't it? She didn't even bother to look up. Of course it is, Alex. Write down what you want. Your father and I will knock off a bank on the way home from work tonight. Oh, jeez. My mother's a laugh a minute. She wasn't the only one trying to ruin my fun either. My father was just as bad. Like when we flew to New York City to make the commercial, he actually asked me to carry my own bag to the taxi. I couldn't believe it. What good was being a celebrity if you had to do stuff like that? At first, I started to laugh. Are you kidding, Dad? This is a joke, right? You don't actually expect me, Alex Frankovich, winner of the National Kitty Fritter Television Contest, to pick up his own duffel bag and lug it out to the cab, do you? My father totally ignored me. He just grabbed a bunch of his own stuff and started toward the big sliding glass door. My mother did the same. Hey, hold it, I called after them. This is nuts. Think about it. How many times have I seen you, Cap'n Crunch, hauling his own luggage through the airport? My father stopped dead in his tracks and whirled around. My father is an excellent whirler. He can spin around so fast it makes you fall down dizzy just watching. After he whirls comes the part I hate most. He heads towards me doing his Frankenstein walk, slowly, very slowly, real stiff in the legs, and he doesn't smile either. When he got to where I was standing, he glared at me a second and said, just out of curiosity, King Tut, knowing very well that that wasn't my name, exactly who do you think is going to carry your suitcase if you don't? Me? Your mother? The pilot of the plane? Who? Since I hadn't really given this question a lot of thought, I was forced to come up with something quick. Let's get a waiter over here, I said with authority. My father wasn't amused. He pointed to a nearby bench. Sit, mister, he ordered. The way he said it made me feel like a dog named Mister. Listen, Alex, he began. You wrote a funny essay, and your mother and I are very proud of you. You deserve to do this commercial, but that doesn't mean that you're suddenly a movie star, and it also doesn't mean that you get special treatment or get to order other people around. Geez, what a place for a lecture, right in the middle of Kennedy International Airport, filled with big ears from all over the world. Shh, Dad, could you try to tone it down a little bit? The tourists from Guatemala are starting to stare. I don't care who's staring, Alex, he replied, even louder than before. All I care is that you heard what I just said. Heard? I responded. Of course I heard. The whole airport heard, Dad. People taking off in planes in Yugoslavia probably heard. Good, he said. Then close your mouth, pick up your bag, and get your rear end out to that taxi. Great, my rear end. Big ears from all over the world, and he starts talking about my rear end. Angrily, I grabbed my suitcase and started pulling it across the terminal. As soon as my father's back was turned, I put the bag down and made a big face. Ooh. I did the one where you stretch the sides of your mouth out with your thumbs and pull the bottom of your eyes down. This may sound childish to a lot of people, but personally, I still find making faces at my parents very satisfying. Ooh, he's gonna get in trouble. By the time we arrived at the hotel, it was already dark. It was especially dark for me because during the taxi ride, I had decided to put on my sunglasses. I don't care what anyone says. No self-respecting celebrity in New York City ever goes out in public without his shades, not even at night. My dad snatched the glasses off my head and went inside the lobby. My mother just shook her head. I worry about my mother's head. She shakes it so much, one of these days it's going to get real loose and she won't be able to hold it up anymore. It'll just roll around on her shoulders and become an embarrassment to the family. That night, after the lights were out, I slipped my sunglasses back on. I guess you could say I was still pretty irritated about the incident in the airport. After all, what's so wrong about wanting to act like a celebrity? Wasn't that half of the fun of winning the contest? After a whole lifetime of being teased, was it really so awful to try to feel special for once? Didn't I deserve it? I hardly even had to think about it. Yes, sure I did. Of course I did. Alex Frankovich deserved a break. I raised my fists into the darkness. Hear that, world? I screamed silently. Alex Frankovich deserves a break. I rolled over and broke my sunglasses.